the climate?
I have the first answer is focusing on eradicating racism. I know that's the hardest thing, but that's the biggest thing, because once people start addressing that, acknowledging it, and stop denying that it exists, then we can start addressing things like climate change and environmental injustice, because all of those are based on race, right? They're based on redlining and all of those other racist practices. So let's acknowledge that it exists and start working to make ourselves better, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm all about the precautionary principle. If you think there's a problem, you need to address it right away.
And that's called a precautionary principle?
Principle, right, in science, right? Which is similar to the medical, I think the oath, do no harm, first do no harm, right? And I think that people have been speaking and talking about issues that they've had, suffering, deaths and all of that. And people and those in positions of power haven't really been listening. They're listening now. A lot of people are listening now. But I think we need to think about not just ourselves, but be empathetic to others and think about what they're going through, and then come up with solutions that address that, right? That address climate change and chronic flooding, and the fact that people live in areas that flood, but they can't afford insurance because the insurance agencies want them to raise their homes 10 feet, and they don't have the money to raise their homes 10 feet. So when there's another incident, what happens? They flood again. And then if we have another COVID, what happens? They have to live in homes that have mold and mildew that is, that will exacerbate any existing conditions, right? So I want us to have more empathy for others. And that stems from seeing us all as equal, right? We're back to racism. And then and as a part of that, I want us to think about the effects of climate gentrification, a term that was coined from a community member, about what happens when you move, you person who has money, into a community and raise the property values. What happens to the community that lived there before? And let's stop saying, I don't care, they need to just leave. And think about where they're going and how that affects their, economic, their abilities to improve their economic situation, right? This whole generational wealth and all of those things. So Those are some things that, just a couple, I could go on, but